Figma just released Motion, and today we are going to animate an entire landing page from start to finish. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to create animations like this. Let's dive into the video together. This beginner tutorial will teach you how to animate a landing page using the new Figma Motion tool. So as you can see, I have my landing page design here for me. So what I'm going to basically do is that I am going to go down here, okay, and then move here to where I have motion. So I'm just going to click on it for the motion to be activated. Now the second thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to click on my home page. All right, then the first thing I want to do is to animate the header. So I'm going to click on the header this way, then move to my right panel and then locate where we have animation, and then I'm going to click on this add animation here. All right, so you can see here I have some presets, effects already. So what I'm going to leave it on is sliding. All right, then direction, I want it to move from the top this way, okay, and the distance should be somewhere 100, meaning that the distance from where it's going to move on to the frame back should be 100, and I'm going to leave it on ease in and out this way, just like this. All right, so let me just expand the timeline for you to see. All right, so this is what is going to happen here. So the next thing I'm going to animate is the hero text over here. So I'm going to click on it and then go back to the right panel and then locate animation. I'm just going to click on the add sign here. All right, and I want it to move from the bottom this time around this way, and the distance has to move from, I'm going to make it 150 this way. I'm going to leave the duration on 500. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is that I want to extend it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to extend where it's starting from to where the first one is ending. Okay, I'm doing this in the sense that when this one comes in, before this is going to start, or this comes in, so I'm going to leave it here, and I'll have to make sure the duration of this is still 500 to bring in some uniformity. All right, now another thing I'm going to work on is that I want it to be faded before it comes in. So I'm going to scroll down here and then move to where we have opacity. Okay, so at the opacity side here, I'm just going to click on this diamond shape here, which said add keyframes this way, so you can see. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to extend this keyframes to the end here, and then I'll reduce the opacity to 0 this way. Then I will again go back to extend it from the beginning. So what is going to happen is that when I play it and it gets here, the opacity will be 0, and then it will increase, and then it will become 100% as it gets back to its position. Now I'm going to the subtext as well. Also go back to my right panel and then go to animate. All right, so I also want it to slide in from the bottom this way, and the duration I'm going to leave it at 150 this way. So I'll go back to my timeline and locate it. This is it here. I'm just going to carry it and also bring it to where the previous one ends this way. So I'll scroll down again, go to opacity. All right, click on the diamond shape over here this way, and then extend this to the end here, and then reduce the opacity to 0 this way, and then come back there and then bring it to the front. All right, so that whatever is going to happen to the header will happen to the subtext as well. So I'm going to go to the buttons. All right, so go to the buttons as well, go to my right panel, click on the add sign to animate. All right, so with the buttons, I want it to slide from the left, not from the bottom this time around. Also, I'm going to leave it at 150. All right, So I'll just take the buttons all the way to wherever the previous one ends. Okay, so you can see that the previous ones ends here. So let me just extend the timeline this way. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down, all right, to the opacity, and then click on the diamond shape here, all right, as we did for the previous ones. And then I'm going to send it all the way back to where this is ending, and then I'll reduce the opacity to 0. Okay, this way. So I'll just come back here and then bring it to the front here. Okay, now let's move on and look at this picture or the dashboard here. Okay, 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 so let's make sure the dashboard is selected. Okay, so let's locate that and make sure the dashboard is selected. Okay. All right. I have to make sure the whole dashboard is selected to get a real animation done for us. Well, so let's go to the left panel and let me try and select the dashboard. Okay, so it has been selected now. All right, so I'm going to go here to right panel here to animate, add this. All right, and then I want it to slide in from the bottom. Okay, and then the duration, I'm going to make it the same 150, and then I'll go back to the timeline, okay, and locate wherever it is. Then I'll send it to where the previous one ended. Okay, so let me extend the timeline. As you can see, this was where the previous one ended. All right, I'm going to scroll down the right panel and locate opacity. Click the diamond shape over here. Then go back to my timeline and then send this to where it's ended. All right, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity also to 0 this way. Then go back to my timeline and then bring it to where it is starting from this way. Okay, so that is perfectly done. All right, so the next thing to do is to look at this section, the engineered for experience, this section. So I'm going to click it, go back to my right panel, click on the animation here, and I'm going to make sure it slides from the bottom this way. Then the duration, give it the 150 again. All right, then go back to my timeline. I'm just going to locate wherever it is. Okay, so it's here. So I'm going to drag it all the way to where the previous one ended. Okay, so we have to make sure it is at where the previous one ended. So I'm going to drag the timeline here and we make sure this is at where the previous one ended. Okay, so let's drag it back and make sure we get the positioning right. Okay, so we have it here. All right, then I'm going to go down and locate appearance and then opacity, right? I'm going to click on the diamond shape here to add a keynote, and then I'm going to send it all the way back. So we are going to do the dragging all the way back here. Now let's make sure we get the right thing done. Okay, So all the way back here, and we have to make sure this is having the same duration as others. Okay, so let's go and make sure it is 500. So we bring it and make sure it is 500 this way. Okay, so we send this one to where it ended. Then we will now reduce the opacity and make it 0 this way. So I'll go back and then drag it all the way here to where it is starting from. Okay, all right. So the next thing I'm going to do is to deal with this. Okay, so I'm going to click on it, go back to my right panel again, then animation. I'm going to click on the add animation here. Okay, so this time around I also want this to slide from the side, not from the bottom. All right, so I'm going to give it 150 distance this way. So let me now scroll down and locate that on the timeline. So I have it this way. So I'm going to drag it all the way to where the previous one ended. Okay, so this way. So I'm just going to increase the timeline here and then send it to where it ended. So we have to make sure it is, at where it ended. All right. So this way. Okay. So for this one, we are not going to deal with, the opacity, right? Because it's just going to slide in. So we wouldn't deal with the, the opacity. Okay. So the next thing is to click on this one, ready to evolve your stack. All right. Then I'll go back to my right panel to add animation. And this one, it is going to slide from the bottom. And I'm going to give it a distance of 150 this way. Okay, then I'll go to my timeline again. Okay, and locate that. I think it's somewhere here. Okay, so I'm going to drag it all the way to where the other one ended. So let me just extend my timeline a little bit. Okay, so this one ended at this side, so we need to drag it back a little here. Okay, so it ended over here. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here and locate, opacity. Click on the keyframe here. Okay, add keyframe. All right, so we are going to go back here and drag it all the way to wherever it is stopping at this side here. Okay, this side here. All right, so I'm going to reduce the opacity and make it 0, and then we have to go back here, and then we go back and drag it all the way to the starting point. Okay, this way. All right, then with the footer, we are also going to add an animation to that. So I'm going to click on it, also go back to the right panel, and then click on add animation over here. All right, so it is going to slide from the bottom, okay, this way. All right, so I'm going to give it a distance of 150. Okay, so let me just maintain the 200 because I don't want it to show on the, the frame. All right, so with this, since it is not in the frame, it's going to slide in from outside the frame. I am not going to add or reduce the opacity for it. So basically, I am going to, maintain it this way. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Okay, so basically what we can do is to, play this and then we see. So let's play it and see how this home page have been animated for us. Okay, so let me put it on fit to height so we see everything. So as you can see, everything is perfect and our landing page has been animated very well. All right, so this is just the beginning of Figma Motion. Let me know what you did like me to animate next. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notification. See you in the next one. Bye.